James Reese here from Overtime Heroics MMA. I'm here tonight now with Tan Lee from One Championship. How's life with you at the moment, mate?
Not bad at all. Given the situation, obviously trying to make the best out of what we're dealing with, but trying to follow as many rules as possible and still get some good training in, and few and far between. Try to enjoy some time with some family and really relax a little bit.
Yeah, I bet some testing times at the moment, mate, and it's all a bit up in the air and weird, especially if you guys are fighters at the moment, not knowing what's going on. We'll jump straight into the questions then, mate. What I wanted to start with, during your fight with Quay Hagan, I believe his name is, prior to you beating Josh, you broke your jaw. How did you manage to overcome the jaw break? Because obviously that wouldn't have been much fun, to be fair, and managed to actually finish him off.
Yeah, that was a tough situation to deal with, I guess, to say the least. But I really took a lot away from that fight. Josh is a great competitor. I see him at local regional shows all the time, coaching our guys, and he's got some fighters out there doing really good work. But he's a great martial artist, great coach. It was a tough fight for me. Ended up winning, but obviously, like you said right before that, I had my jaw shattered. It was broken in two places, basically right down the middle, and then right near the hinge. And then I guess when he hit me, it rolled in. So during the fight, as soon as I got it broken, I kind of ran my tongue across, like during the fight, ran a tongue across my teeth, and all of a sudden, there was just gap here. It felt like gum, And I was like, man, there's no way he knocked all of my teeth out. Like I would see them on the floor, or I'd feel them in my mouth or something. Like he must have broken my jaw. I guess it moved around in there under the skin, but at that moment, it was basically, you kind of find out if you really want to be a fighter or not. That happened to be my fifth pro fight, I believe. And I guess it's beneficial to really kind of go that far and deep into your career without really having to test any kind of serious chin or serious heart. But, you kind of find out whether you want to really be in the ring, whether you want to do this full time and really take it all the way at that moment. Like thoughts run through your head. Nobody would have blinked an eye if I would have just kind of called it and said, well, my jaw's broken. Let me, protect myself and call this fight. We'll take the L and then we'll come back and do it again next fight. The logical thinking man probably would have done the same. So, but really, winning was a long camp. We've trained really hard for days like this, and things like that happen, and you really find out that fighter inside of you really comes out. So, I kind of bit down on my mouthpiece, so to speak, and started really going forward and pressing the fight, and it happened to work out in my favor, and ended up knocking Josh out in that round. I think it was like 3 minutes into the first round or something like that. But those first couple minutes it was a barn burner. We were going back and forth, and I usually don't like my fights to play out that way. I usually like to be the assassin from long range and try to do as much clean killing from the outside as possible. And that one got dirty, and we find out what we were made of, and I was happy with what I took away from the fight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was a hell of an opening to any fight. For an opening 3 minutes, one fight that have his jaw broke, the second fight that to be stopped. I mean, that was definitely an explosive start to a fight. That's for sure. When I announced that I was going to be interviewing you, a lot of feedback I was getting from people was I seemed to take away that you was a fan favorite in the Ultimate Fighter season 22. It's become quite a famous season now, obviously with Conor and Faber and the snake in the grass comments and so on. How was that experience for you in a whole, being part of Team Faber and just the whole environment, I suppose?
Yeah, the experience was great. That was really my first time being exposed to that level of competition, that level of coaching. So it kind of puts it into perspective whether you kind of think you're doing things right, or are you on the same page as some of these big camps, and as far as training goes, as far as mentality goes, strategy, things like that. But the experience was wonderful. All the coaches were great. The fighters, it was actually a pleasant experience, besides the fact that we were obviously cut off from the world for whatever it was, 7 weeks. No music, no phone, that type of thing, no talking to loved ones. That was a tough piece, but other than that, man, the experience was great. It was exciting to be around that type of environment. That's obviously a huge step in anybody's career trying to make it to the big leagues, And I've learned so much for being part of that show. I met a good friend of mine, Ryan Hall, who ended up winning that season through that experience, obviously, and we train to this day. We train on a regular basis. I moved out to Virginia, where he's from and where 50-50 jiu-jitsu is, for a couple of years. So it was a great experience. And I wouldn't take that back for anything in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it was on a whole, I mean, he obviously had his moments of drama that was sort of played up, but I think that was one of the actual better series for the level of competitors that was on there as well. I might be wrong with this as well. Wasn't that the first series of fights you had after coming back from your broken jaw as well?
Yeah, so that was my fifth fight, and then we had the Ultimate Fighter series, and then I obviously fought after that and on the Contender series and things like that.
I mean, that's even more impressive when you take that into consideration, really. I mean, you come back from that straight into Ultimate Fighter. That's a bit one big jump, really.
Yeah, that experience with the house and the broken jaw, things like that. Like that was a really good experience, and I took a lot away from it, obviously. But that story of the broken jaw actually, I think, put me over the edge to get put into the house, to get chosen to fight to get in the house. Actually, I think one of the guys or the producers that were in charge heard that story, and they brought me in for a little bit of. I guess they dug a little deeper into that story and really liked what they heard. So chose me to be on the show. I didn't have a ton of experience. All those guys that are on the show were having 10, 12, 15 fights. I only had 5 fights at the time. So maybe that helped me out as far as getting pulled onto the show.
Crazy how things work, really, isn't it? Obviously, I mean, you were well known for your taekwondo. Do you believe that taekwondo is a good starting point for someone looking to get into MMA?
I do. I really do. And obviously, there's huge pieces to the fight game that kind of add up to a complete fighter. But I think that taekwondo teaches you a few different things that really translate well. Obviously, I would say to my game, since I'm a taekwondo fighter and I've been doing it my entire life. But a big piece of that is being elusive, being able to move your feet, being able to fight from both stances, and really you're in control of the first type of contact, the first range that you get in contact in fighting, in mixed martial arts. Is there is no range past kicking range. That is the longest and furthest range possible. And past your feet are obviously your hands. And then it goes in from there, from elbows and knees to clinch to wrestling to now we're on the ground doing jiu-jitsu. So it kind of goes full distance and squeezes into a tighter space. But being in control of whether we engage or not, I think is almost like a superpower in mixed martial arts. That's why wrestling gets such a kind of a bump from all the commentators and all the fighters, because it's such a great tool to have, because you can control whether the fight's on the feet or on the ground. That's what wrestling or defensive wrestling does. Is I get to tell you yes or no, let's go to the ground, or no, let's stay on the feet. And I think fighting from extremely long range, being able to move your feet the way that we do is another superpower to have in mixed martial arts. And also, it's not a very common thing to run into. So if you do a truly high level of taekwondo, I don't know that there's obviously in the mainstream and in the big leagues, there aren't a ton of guys with that skill set. There's a more common skill set to have is kind of like boxer wrestler type of MMA fighter. That's more common. It's not everybody, obviously, but that's more common. And the things that we do from the outside and the taekwondo footwork and the skill set that kind of gives you is just less common in general. And I think that's another superpower also.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always intriguing to see. I mean, that's the beauty of mixed martial arts, isn't it? Really, to see all the different styles coming together and whatever all these different people have to offer, just makes it a little bit more interesting. In particular for the viewer, really, I suppose.
100%. Excuse me for 1 second. Let me knock this noise out background here. There we go. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, all good, man. He was all fine anyway. You obviously touched on it a little bit. You've done Taekwondo for a large period of your life. How did you get started in MMA? Was it a direct link from Taekwondo, or did you sort of dabble off elsewhere?
Really kind of a weird disconnect. I stopped doing a ton of competing in Taekwondo for a little while in my early 20s to mid 20s. And, you know, so still training, but, you know, not as intense because we weren't competing and things like that. So I would still train and go and try to do some tumbling and, you know, gymnastics type work and flipping and all this stuff. Just trying to play around with some, I always like to stay physical, you know, and active. But a big piece of that kind of translated when we went to watch a local MMA show that somebody gave us tickets to. We honestly wasn't like a huge attraction or anything to us, but you know, we went, killed some time on a Saturday night, I think it was, and my family, a friend of mine, my brother, all that, we went, we watched, and it was really interesting to see all these arts obviously mixed together and in a cage, and guys fighting and you know, submission grappling, wrestling, boxing, kicking, all these different things, and we were really excited to kind of feel the energy, feel the crowd, feel the coaches and the fighters, and it was a really good feel. So I turned to my friend of mine, Carlos Vera, who's trained with me in Taekwondo for a really long time, is a pro MMA fighter now. I was like, man, you want to try this stuff out? You want to do one? I know it's, you know, it's kind of seems dangerous or whatever, but fuck it, let's try it, you know. And so we ended up taking a fight. I think it was like 3 months away from that date. Didn't have any training as far as hands, as far as clinch work, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. We had nothing, like absolutely nothing, which is really dumb. And I would never let one of my fighters do that. But, you know, you kind of learn from your mistakes, and the weird path that I took, but it ended up working out really well. And I'm doing what I love for a job and, you know, trying to take care of my family. And I think it's a great position to be in.
Yes, it definitely worked out well for you anyway, taking a gamble. I think that's paid off for sure now. Obviously, before this lockdown, it was rumored that you was going to be getting a title shot next against Martin Nguyen. It was also rumored he was going to be headlining in Vietnam. Hypothetically speaking, if that had gone ahead, what would that have meant to you?
Man, that's definitely a dream come true. Almost at a loss for words, but that matchup would be great, obviously, because Martin's the champ and he is the standard for the division right now of somebody who holds that belt and has been defending it and has done multiple weight classes. I mean, he's done a lot of work, and he's got a great career behind him and a great reign as champion behind him. So it's that would be a dream fight come true. MMA being legalized in Vietnam recently, so I've heard is a huge step in the right direction for that. Me having the wins that I've had recently against the top level competitors that I've fought, I think is a huge step in the right direction also. So I think all that needs to be done is draw up some contracts and get that venue straight, and we can do it in Vietnam. That would be a dream come true, and I know Martin wants that too. So let's do it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any MMA fan out there that wouldn't want to see that fight, to be honest. I mean, that just screams explosiveness from both. I mean, you both like to stand up, you both like to throw the punches. I mean, that's just going to be pure entertainment, no doubt about it. Obviously, leading up to getting an opportunity at a title shot, we best speak about the fact you're currently undefeated in one. What do you attribute to this?
A lot of stuff, you know. I know it's not going to be a sexy answer, but the boring stuff, man. It's just the hard work, the day in, day out in the gyms, the training partners that I have, the coaches that I have. I mean, you're going to get this answer from a lot of MMA fighters that you ask the same question to, but it really is the truth. Like, you know, this isn't a one-man game. There's no way I could do this without the support of my wife, my family, my son, my coaches, my training partners. I mean, everybody. The random blue belt that comes in and gets a random roll in at the end of the night. Like every one of those little guys, it's just having the right focus from this side of things, trying to do the best you can with what you have and the resources that you have, I think is a huge piece. And just trying to be smart every day in and day out. I mean, for example, like, you know, everybody's quarantined right now, not any gyms are open. Coaches are out. You know, we're staying 6 feet away from everybody. We're not getting in contact with the public, things like that. But you can take days like this, times like this, I should say, and get better. I mean, for example, like after the broken jaw, I couldn't do any type of bearing down or any kind of clenching of the jaw or any type of impact to my body for a period of time. And I took that time to get really good at being a southpaw. As far as my hands and my clinch work and my elbows go, you gotta try to take advantage of times like this as an athlete. Not everybody can do so. You know, not everybody's in a situation that they can take advantage of their free time that we're getting right now, or their time not at work or their time spent in isolation. I happen to be in a situation where I can take advantage of the time that we're getting. Um, we could sit and just sulk, or we could sit and be down on what's happening in the world. But we can work in the right direction too. We also have respect for the virus. We can do the things we need to do as far as our contact with the public, but we can also continue to work on ourselves. And if you have that option, if you have the opportunity, that's what I'm trying to take full advantage of. I honestly feel like I haven't missed a single day of training camp training. Have I missed out on some training partners and some trips out to where I would normally go to prepare for fights? Absolutely, 100%. But I haven't missed a beat as far as training goes, preparation, mental preparation, as far as doing homework for fights and watching opponents, sharpening skills that you already have, and developing new skills. And I think that's huge. And I don't know that everybody's doing that during this time, and maybe they don't have the opportunity, but I'm making sure that I am coming out of this not only a better person but a better fighter.
It's a great answer, to be honest. As you say, I mean, for any up-and-coming like MMA young fan that may end up watching this, I mean, it's the answers they need to be hearing. As you say, it's the boring stuff, if you like. It's the basics and working hard. I mean, that's where everyone needs to hear, especially the people who got dreams to be where you are in the future, I suppose, really.
That's the funny thing. I want to add that, like today, for example, I know I mentioned that I really haven't skipped a beat. Today was the first day I didn't have a training partner with me for training, and it's Sunday, and that's everybody's day off, so no issues at all, obviously. But you go in there and went to the gym today for a couple hours in the morning and spend some time getting better at something that I didn't feel comfortable with, and you just take the time. I happen to have the opportunity to go in there in my own gym, away from everybody, and stay safe and do those things. That's a great point that you brought up for all these up and coming fighters. That if you have the option, if you have the opportunity, don't waste that time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every moment is important, and really, especially if you want to make it successful. We'll finish off with a simple one then. What's your ambitions for the future? What's next? Where do you want to be in 2-3 years' time?
To be honest with you, I'm really excited and not looking past my division and my upcoming opponents. Whether it's a title shot coming up here soon in Vietnam, like we talked about, or another fight before I get there. But I want to make sure that I am fighting the best dudes in the division. I say this in almost every interview: I'm not doing this to have the belt wrapped around my waist. I'm doing this for what that means, is that I dominate the featherweight division. I run the featherweight division, and everybody goes through me. All the best up-and-comers, all the best veterans, all the best fighters come through me as champion. And that's what I want to accomplish in this division, is be the best and have nobody else to fight. And then we'll start looking at different divisions. But none of that comes without getting this belt, being the best, and fighting the best guys in this. So we'll leave it at that.
it's great to see you though, and again, it's the right information to be given out for anyone that wants this as a career. You don't overlook you're the next person. Obviously, keep it focused. Well, look, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. And I just want to say from all of us here, we hope you get that title shot and everything you're looking for. I mean, it's definitely well deserved, that's for sure. And wish you all the best in the future.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you very much, Tan.